Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. All right, so we're back from the news, and it's time to continue the conversation. This is a beautiful Friday morning, and I can tell you today is going to be a bumper package, and that's because we are looking at everything in between. But first off, we'll be talking about the real estate sector, and we're talking certificate of occupancy. But before then, quickly, let's get back to the roads. We did tell you the only areas where we have some built-up moments at the moment really is the construction corridor. Yes, if you are navigating through the Odo-Yalaro end, it is slow and steady at the moment. Nothing unusual. It's just because of the counterflow that we have at that end. So backlog from the interchange connecting Ojota proper and linking up with New Garage. You have it slow at that particular location, but nothing unusual. If you're making the journey towards the Third Mainland Bridge, Alakbere is where you meet the slowness. Yes, we have some slowness there. And that's nothing unusual too. Filling stations doing their thing on that corridor, but they are properly streamlined, as we can also view from our live camera infrastructure. Let's move on this morning. And first off, we'll be delving over to the built and the real estate sector, as we are mirroring common myths about the certificate of occupancy. My guest is no stranger to the microphone. She's joining me right here in the studios. Adebimpe Arinola is a legal practitioner of several years standing and a real estate consultant. It's nice to have you in the building, madam. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me.
And how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
How was your journey here, by the way?
Oh, it was pretty stress-free. The roads are very free. Everybody's looking for how to get fuel or trying to factor in the new economic situations.
You can see that. So these are ultra-modern studios. And look to your left, you can see the live cameras. What do you make of it, by the way?
It's beautiful, actually. It's beautiful. I like the fact that we can do audio and at the same time we do video in an audio station.
Okay.
Yes, it wasn't like that many years ago.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so Mrs. Arinola, we will still come to the issue of the certificate of occupancy in a bit. But first things first, let's talk a bit about the real estate sector. So as a practitioner of several years standing, how will you assess real estate business in Nigeria as it stands today?
Real estate business in Nigeria is, one, heavily unregulated.
Heavily unregulated?
Heavily unregulated.
Why do you say that?
Because there are a lot of regulations. States have their regulation. There's the Grand Norm, that is the Land Use Act, and then states have different regulations. Lagos had regulations, but somehow enforcement has been a major issue with a lot of these regulations. It's heavily unregulated and is what we call perfect competition. Everybody does their pricing.
So does it look like it's an all-commerce affair?
Absolutely.
Right. All right, so when you do this assessment in comparison to best global practices, how are we faring?
Best global practices, we're not faring well. That's why a lot of people in diaspora are scared of investing at home. Yes. Yeah. On the one hand, if you can get that investment, it's going to boom like mad because competition is perfect. You can buy it 1 million and decide you want to sell it 25 million. Nobody can query you. There's no price regulation, there's no nothing. But it is to ensure that you don't get into trouble. Right. It's to ensure that you don't fall foul of the law. And if you fall foul of the law, you might not even know you are falling foul of the law. It's the day the government wakes up and says, you are in my space. That's when you now know. That's when you know.
So from what you see right now, there's so many things that are going on
absolutely
that are not really in tandem with the law.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's zoom in on the focus of the moment, which is the certificate of occupancy. For novices like us who do not really understand this industry, what is a certificate of occupancy?
So I see a lot of people do videos, and because Google is your friend, they just go to Google and then go and ask what's the certificate of occupancy, and they come to media spaces, whether social media or traditional media, to come and reel it out. What the certificate of occupancy is, according to the Land Use Act, is when government recognizes your ownership on an erstwhile freehold land. Freehold land is land that was not registered with the government.
Okay.
In that context. So, let me do the definition, then I'll explain to you that there are two types of certificate of occupancy broadly.
The C of O.
Yes, the C of O.
As they are called.
The C of O, yes, as it's called. It is government recognizing your ownership over property. So, government saying you are recognized, we give you a lease on this property. And that's where some people have said, why get a certificate of occupancy? Because without a certificate of occupancy, I can own my land or my house.
Can one own a land without a C of O?
Absolutely.
You can?
Omonile does not have C of O now, and they own their things.
So let's put it in proper context. They say the whole land belongs to government. Is that true?
Radical title. He is the custodian.
Okay.
Custodian. That, so it doesn't mean that
the government is the custodian, but is not the owner of the land. Is that the way it is?
Technically, he owns the land.
Okay.
Right. But he can divest ownership for a while, in quotes.
Right.
He can divest usage. Right. Now, the Land Use Act says that everybody who was in possession of land before 1976 and they own the land statutorily, they can continue as if they own it.
Own the land.
They are deemed to have a statutory right of occupancy.
Okay.
So a lot of people like to hinge onto that and say, oh, they've had it before 1976, even though we know that's not necessarily the way it is.
Yeah, so if the law says that, I mean, I have a claim to that now. Is that not correct? If the law says before 1976, you own the land. Now, I own the land which I inherited from my fathers, you understand, from the 50s. So I can lay claim to say, I own the land. Is that not correct?
Absolutely. That is where the concept of omonile comes in. They are valid owners. That's the first thing I want to establish this morning, because I know that there is a lot of bad blood, misconception about omonile.
So omoniles, they do own land.
There are some.
Okay.
There are some
that do own
valid owners of land.
Okay.
Yes.
So we put that in proper perspective.
Yes, valid owners.
All right. So now, your definition of a certificate of occupancy is that what?
You now go to omonile and say, okay, I want to buy from you. Now, for trust, I said that we're not doing well when it comes to regulation and international best practices. So trust is on the zilch right now.
Right.
So, for example, foreigners, if they want to come and do business in Nigeria, they are not going to come near you if your land does not have government title, or if you don't have vast land that they can go to the government of most states and say, okay, do you know this family? Is this, because the state is also in charge of chieftaincy matters. And a lot of times, land are intertwined with chieftaincy matters. So if you say, okay, this land belongs to this community, this land belongs to this family, this land belongs to this chieftaincy house, this state is likely to know about it.
All right.
So they can, if expatriates want to come and do business, it's either you have a C of O, or it's large enough for them to research into government, because that is the only way there's a bit of standard, there's a bit of regularity of procedure to say, okay, do you recognize this family? Are they known? Could they own this? Do you understand? And then they now say, okay, yes, this family now owns it. They now say, okay, this family owns it. In order to have what is called a better title, right, you go and get a C of O, because legally, a person who has a C of O has legal interest. But everybody omonile sells to, they only have equitable interest.
So how do people get C of O's, certificate of occupancy?
Now, that is where the issues come in, because everybody, you say you want to buy land, or I'm offering you property. The first thing the buyer asks is, does it have a C of O? How do people get C of O? Let me say this. C of O are majorly of two types.
Okay.
The first type is where you buy from an individual, family, or whatever. You now go to government to say, I have bought from them. I want you to recognize me as the legal owner. Because it is only when you have registered title, that is C of O, that you can be a legal owner. Everybody else only has equitable interest.
Right.
That's a legal matter.
So if I go to an omonile who owns a property or who owns a piece of land,
yes,
and he now writes on a piece of paper that, okay, I have sold this land to you.
Yes, he gives you a contract to sale.
Is that a C of O?
No, you not take that. That's where this is where the issue is. So you not take that document. You now go to government and say, I want to register a C of O. Government will now collect that document from you. And use that to go through the process of issuing you a C of O. So here's the first issue. People imagine that because a land has C of O, you don't need to do due diligence. What if it's a wrong fraction of omonile that's sold?
Okay. So that's on the one hand. You said that's one type of C of O, right?
Yes.
What's the second type?
The second type of C of O is that government themselves, by whatever means, has acquired this land and now wants to sell.
Okay.
They will issue you a letter of allocation, which is one of the documents you get in the process of buying from government. And then government will issue you a C of O. Right now, Lagos State is issuing E-C of O.
E-C of O. So that we've gotten to that process right now.
Yes.
So people can check the lands and then you can do applications and you get this E-C of O. All right. So you wanted to ask,
you are either buying from government or you are buying from individual. Now, if you buy from individual, you go to government to go and register. If you buy from government will issue you, as part of the purchase process, a certificate of occupancy.
Barrister Arinola, why is it that getting C of O's is like walking through the eye of a needle?
A few things. You know that demand controls supply. Everybody wants C of O. That's one issue. Everybody wants a C of O. You meet an average, like even the woman in the market. Ma, come and buy. This is the offer. This is only C of O. She may not know the full meaning of that C of O,
right?
But everybody knows a C of O. But they don't know that a C of O is not a be all and end all. That's issue one. Issue two is that the way government is run, every document must go through certain processes. However, Lagos State is he's currently digitalizing. They are trying to make sure that all the processes are automated, so you can do it online, but they are not there yet.
Okay,
they are far from being there. They have a lot that is yet to be uploaded, right. But they are in the process of making that process. Absolutely, and they are not giving up on it. I give that to them. They are not giving up on it. So the bottleneck of government offices, as is in every office of government, right. You also find it in the process of getting C of O. That's two. Three is that a lot of times we are the problem.
Why?
Because to get a C of O, you must have, like I said, the deed of assignment. You must have a document transferring from one person to you. So you can have one set of name, Adebimpe Olasunbo, right, on the deed of assignment. Then I go to survey, I have Adebimpe Arinola on the survey. Then when they issue the receipt, I can do Olasunbo Arinola on the receipt. You have beginning of problem.
That's problem.
Beginning of problem.
Okay.
So if in the process, or maybe you give me some information at the beginning that in the process of working on the C of O, they find out that the records don't tally with what I submitted, they're going to send us back along the process lines.
So we have to go back to start all over?
Probably so. So sometimes we have to tell people that we should avoid duplicating information. We should avoid giving information that is not absolutely the way it is in the records, or because there's going to be an inspection.
So let's talk about the myths now. So what are some of those common myths that's associated with the C of O?
We said one.
Right.
One is to imagine that when you have a C of O, you don't need to do due diligence.
Okay.
Once they say property has C of O, and people conduct a search because they believe that a search is all you need to do as due diligence before you buy, and they find the C of O on the records, it's fine. You won't ask that, okay, this C of O you went to register, because Lagos State will not conduct due diligence. You understand? On who sold to you. So I want to buy from you that has C of O, who sold to you? What's their title? So I find out a few things about the person that sold to you that has the C of O. It's very important. Okay. I find very few people do that.
All right, so that's one. Due diligence.
Due diligence. Myth two is to believe that once you have C of O, you can't have any issues with the government, or the government cannot come to you.
But is that not true?
It's not true.
You mean it?
Yes.
Once I have C of O, I felt that I can just go to bed. I mean, have a bottle of wine and
are you for real?
I'm very for real.
You are definitely. Don't be. Smell the coffee. If they issue you a C of O and the C of O gives you what you can do with it, agricultural, industrial, and you use it for something else, that C of O can be revoked.
You mean it?
Yes. If they give you a C of O and they say that you should use it within a space of time and you refuse to use it, they may not revoke it, because the way government policies happen, just like the way it has happened with demolitions. There are some demolitions that you're entitled to just 7 days notice. They will give you the 7 days notice, but they may not come for another 2 years. The day they are going to come, you are probably not going to get any notice again.
Wow.
So the C of O, they can tell you have to start work within 3 years. You may not start work within 3 years.
Right.
But the day they want to revoke, that's what they're going to stand on. You can have the C of O, and what you went to build on it is at variance of what government approves. They can, because of that, revoke the C of O. You are not just going to have building approval problem. Right. They can dig down and revoke your C of O.
I can see messages that are coming in for you already. This one says, good morning, Victor and Adebimpe. Under what conditions can under what conditions can a C of O be revoked?
I just mentioned some of them.
He's sending that one in.
I just mentioned some of them.
Okay.
If you don't, sometimes they say you have fees, some limited fees to pay. They don't really revoke under those terms, really. But it's a ground.
Okay.
Your ground rent, it's a ground on which they can revoke. If they say you should use for agricultural purposes and you build on it, it's a ground on which you can't even try it now. They give you agricultural, because agricultural C of O's are usually cheaper. All
right. This one says, good morning, Mr. Oteri. Say, what is the difference between a C of O and deed of assignment?
Thank you. I knew that question was going to come.
Tomiwa from Yabatek.
I knew that question was going to come. Now, the document that is actually a deed of assignment, not the many things they tell you that are deed of assignment to. The one that is actually a deed of assignment is the document that is issued upon an existing C of O. So let's say a C of O is issued for 99 years residential. You get 99 years. That's what the Land Use Act says.
Okay.
And they issued for 99 years. And then you've used it, you've had the land for 10 years. And then you now want to sell. You are going to sell the unexpired residue of your 99 years.
Wow.
That is 89 years. So you issue a deed assigning your 89 years.
Wow.
Yes, that's what a deed of assignment
is.
So everybody who gets a C of O is the first registrar.
All right.
Because a C of O is issued only once.
I'm going to get you back on the program, really. There's another one here that says, good morning, Traffic Radio. Can a property with no C of O be used as a collateral for a loan?
If the financial institution will take it from you, but I can almost say that 99.9% in Nigeria today, they won't even look you twice in the face.
You win it.
If you do not have a registered title. So here's the thing. It's not every registered title that is C of O.
Okay.
I was still in a meeting with Omonile yesterday where they said, oh, they just want C of O. They want C of O. And I said, please, let's get it straight. I need to do land information and see what the government has to say about the land before I say whether you're getting a C of O.
Right.
Because if there's a gazette, if there's annexation, if it's free, if there's government ownership, what is on you to determine if you get a C of O?
Right.
Or you get any other kind
this
of
was a TGIF Victor. Please, Mrs. Arinola, are all land types eligible for a C of O? Cynthia is sending this one in from the Long Bridge.
I cannot say, you need to take your survey to land information to the Surveyor General's office and get starting information or land information. Please talk to a surveyor. Is what I know that I know.
Okay. So a land surveyor would...
Yes, a land surveyor would, help you draw the survey, right? Submit it to the Surveyor General's office. They will tell you if you can have C of O, because if the land is within a committed acquisition, you cannot have C of O. Even if the acquisition is not committed, you cannot have C of O except you go and regularize.
All right, this was a thank you so much, Victor, for this topic. I don't want to get defrauded. Please, how can I verify the authenticity of a C of O? Thanks, Jumoke.
You need to collect. So you verify authenticity of the C of O or verify authenticity of the owner, because you can verify that the C of O is registered, but then the owner has issues. See, we've gone to do search on C of O. We found the C of O there, and then they had endorsed on it pending litigation.
Wow.
So the C of O is there on the records.
So but you have to be very careful. This one says, what happens when landowners don't have a C of O but have receipts or other documents?
There's nothing that happens. See, there's something we call locus classicus in law, right? It's the first judgment that, probably the most pronounced judgment that gives the full detail about something. The locus classicus on this issue of C of O is Idudu and Ukumagba. It says that C of O is not conclusive proof of title. It tells you that there are 5 major ways of proving title. Traditional ownership, which is what Omonile has.
All right.
That's why Omonile has valid title. Traditional ownership, proof of ownership of adjoining land, proof of ownership, proof of long use of land. Right? C of O. Yes, those are means of proving title. So C of O is not the only means. Somebody can come and trace title, long ownership, that will be more valid, that will carry more weight than your C of O, and the court will revoke your C.
We have to round this off right now. Mrs. Adebimpe, Arinola, you said so much this morning. What's your parting thoughts, by the way, as we round this off?
My parting thought is that, please, C of O is not the only valid kind of title. And no matter the kind of title people give you, no matter what they say, no matter how sweet the mouth, please conduct due diligence. Due diligence on the seller, due diligence on the property, due diligence on the title.
All right. For those who want to talk to you after this program, how can they connect with you?
Okay, they can look for me on social media. Go and look for Adebimpe Arinola or Mommy Real Estate, or I'll give you my phone number.
Mommy Real Estate.
Mommy Real Estate.
Okay, your phone number is
09097 348413. I'll take that again. 09097 348413.
All right, then. It's nice having you in the building. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, we've been able to demystify or perhaps take away some myths surrounding the C of O, the popular C of O.
Absolutely.
We do have global C of O's too, have we?
It's the same C of O. It's just that it covers a large expanse of land.
You mean it?
Oh.
Okay. We'll get you back to tomorrow and talk about that some other day.
Sir.
Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
All right, we're going to switch gears right now to celebrate you. Those of you who are marking your birthdays, we'll be back to do that shortly.